Welcome back! We're live! Let me turn this off right here. And we're live! Welcome back! This is Archvile. I'm your host, G.I. the Wolfman Jack, coming at you live from Jersey City. How you doing? Thursday night! Another episode of Archvile coming for you. Got a few things we're going to do here. We're going to go kick it old school, play some Doom, maybe some Doom 2. And we're going to show you what I'm working on here now tonight. We have some programs, what's it called? Doing some Python and not just some Python and everyone's favorite toolkit, Qt. What's Qt stand for? Do not know, but it's long running. Toolkit for constructing graphical user interfaces going all the way back. Primarily used in the KDE desktop and others. Let me check the chat here. What's it called? All right, people are here. So this is what I've been working on. This program called tor-ctl. You can find this on my GitHub if you want anyone wants to hear. I'm going to post this in chat right here. Dulce, how you doing? Right here from Jersey City. How you doing? Good to see you, girl. So here, what's it called? Here's the here's a link. Tor utility. This essentially, we can see here, is just a simple utility. That's basically an API controller for Tor. So the way Tor works, right, is it runs as a daemon. There used to be a GUI called Vidalia, which is another API controller, did a little different job. But over port 9050, you send traffic, but 9051 is a control port where you can actually send control data. So, let's see if we can find it here. Tor spec. So among here, we have this document right here. If we can zoom in a little bit. It's very long. You can see this very... One second. Let me shrink myself. All right, there we go. So let's see. You can do everything here. So everyone can see here. Let me shrink myself back down to size. But here we go. This large control spec of a lot of commands. Almost everything can be controlled by this API. Has built-in authentication. So, you could all just send this to command Tor netcap, but you might want a decent GUI for controlling this, and Vidalia is long gone, so I'll make my own stand, running my own GUI to interface with the Tor API. So this was two tabs. It's just Qt, 2 tabs. One generate password. So when this is working, this one is not working yet because I can't figure out how to do Tor hash passwords in Python. Why I can't? This uses the PGP, what's it called, secret to key S2K, which is buried somewhere in RFC 2440, which is about 20 pages long. Somewhere it describes how the actual math behind the message hash, which is very confusing to read. It's not exactly easy, and the C implementations, I'm not good at C, are also kind of, from Tor itself, are actually kind of confusing to read. So this doesn't work. We'll get to this in a second, but what this does right here is a few commands. If you had a new IP address from Vidalia, this is the same functionality. It sends this to the daemon. I'm not using a local Tor node, so you can put in a host, a port, your Tor API password, and then you can just say what command you want to put. The current version, this is like the current version, this is version 1 I'm working on. It's really simple. You can, here, you can use this to generate a password, and in your Tor, see there's a controlled hash password, and you could just copy and paste. When I get this working, it's going to be awesome. You could just generate here, copy, paste, put the password back in here, and then just start sending requests. So if you want a new exit node from Tor, you just hit the send button. Flush the DNS. The DNS of your exit node is kind of your personal node is kind of cached in like a non-current site. You can flush a DNS. There's dormant and active mode, which is something added in more recent versions of Tor, which it might not work on all ones. Like my personal Tor mode doesn't work because It's just not implemented. Active mode brings it out of dormant mode. So this just basically keeps the daemon running, but it doesn't build any bridges or anything, or doesn't maintain a bridge. And it uses less system resources. So I'm just saying you can warm it up, cool it down from here. And of course, this one's daemon status, which gives you a version it's good enough directory information. It's good enough. It's just basically asks the Tor node if it's good enough to go. Of course, if you've ever seen like this progress bar in Vidalia, this is nothing as fancy. It's just as progress. And bootstrapping information is like the last one here. So this is a little crude. Future versions I do plan on cleaning this up. So this is very 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 crude. It just kind of shows you select the action, hit the button. It's this one is kind of what's like a little crude. This is kind of version 1. I'm not going to start coding version 2 until I kind of get this one. This is kind of like the key here. A good example of how this one's is tor. You can do this from the tor daemon. Command line hash password with no password value, hash password, so we're going to go. So there we go. So what happens is we'll hash password test. So this is the password hash from test. So we could just put this in our tor-rc with something like like that in tor-rc, and then using the password test here will work. The reason why I don't simply just call this like tor hash password from Python is I want to do a pure Python implementation. So this utility doesn't actually need tor running locally to work. You could just generate everything completely in Python, local side completely in Python, and then use the API. But again, oh, looks like it landed just right here on the signal. So these are a few of the signals. So that's what I have so far on this version, right? That's what this one does so far. And you'll get a version 1 as soon as this works and it kind of gets tested. You'll have version 1 of this one. At the same time, while I'm doing this, so what I'm doing now, what I'm pretty much going to be doing today, is we have tor-ctl and ng. The next generation widget, right? As we can hear, we have some of the same things here. We have host password. So far, there's no really code behind this. This is just in what's it called? Qt Designer. We have this is kind of like the mock-up, non-functional mock-up here. So you can just put the here. And the big difference is you can see here, not only does this resize, you can make this larger, smaller, everything kind of scales correctly. Dormant, what's it called, is its own on-off buttons. New IP is just a button like it was in Vidalia. Flush DNS is a button like it was in Vidalia. All the commands here are buttons. So there's no fiddling with digging through menus here when there's no real reason for that. There's only 4 real commands. So you know they all have buttons, right? Real simple buttons on and off. Of course, we're going to have for MISC, really get at the tor config. We're going to have a console for just for literally, as you see here, when you can just type in, like, you'd be able to type in just like that. You'll be able to do just like that, and that will send raw commands in a console, and then everything will show up here exactly as it comes. That will be for like troubleshooting, Tor hacking, dev, whatever, with the GUI. But you will have to authenticate the password. Everything will kind of be saved here. Logs, you will pull the logs out, and what's it called? What's it called? That's going to be that. So that's going to be next generation interface. It's going to have like a whole bunch of stuff. The big one here, I'm working on nodes. This is kind of ugly because right now this is really try cleaning this up with this nodes pane, because the whole point when we're talking about nodes is exclude nodes, exclude exit nodes, entry and exit nodes. In a minute, I'm going to tell you why these are important, why this has its own tab, and I'm actually thinking about the best way of doing this. This is just kind of not really finished, because nothing in here is really finished. This is pretty much the way it's going to look. This is finished. This top part here that's finished. What's it called? That kind of makes both logical sense, and it's not too ugly. This is also logical sense. It's a little busy, a little buttonitis, but I think this interface will be fine. This is a work in progress. It's basically like the 4 keys from a tor config that are so important they deserve their own thing. It's exclude nodes, exclude exit nodes, and entry nodes and exit nodes. And of course, console, this is self-important. This is going to be just like this. This actually looks pretty good. Logs, still logs, and this is the same one imported from the last one, which is kind of perma-broken. So vision here, right, we'll get into this. This is Qt Designer. Qt is about Qt Designer. It's a graphical user designer for Qt applications. About Qt is a C++ toolkit for cross-platform application development. We are using PyQt5 as opposed to PySide. You can see here, we have an import from PyQt5. So this is basically if you want to design GUI applications. You basically take the kind of item that you want. Let's go over here, like a button. You have like a push button. You can like drag a button, and then once you click on the button here, the properties here. You can set the X, Y width. You can do all the math, set it out here. Set all the properties here, right here. So which is actually kind of good because it's a GUI to design a GUI. So it's really good for design work, and especially you keep, instead of like, you just keep it as a UI file. And it's like, you notice here, the way this works in the application is you just like, you take like the, what's it called, UI file name, and then you import it here. You have like load UI file, and then like this UI file gets loaded, and then so all these properties right here that you design, this UI file is just saved in an XML, but like this right here takes this and then this processes them into classes in the programming language, and these can be accessed right through PyQt5 as like classes and functions. But it converts from like converts from this like XML format, which is kind of good because I like this because it allows you to go back and like just edit things into GUI. Gives you better visualization. So the one thing we're doing here is there's a few reasons to do these, a few reasons to have logs. With nodes, I'm probably going to have to redo this anyway, especially because like what Tor had like a big window and list of all the nodes. So we show you all the nodes in network, which is very important, especially why we have logs in here, is because exclude nodes occasionally get a bad node, right? So I remember like during the whole election season, there was literally this node that was just said, it says make Tor great again, and it was just sending out crap, and it was the only way to say it, like the Tor just appeared to be down, and you log on the server and you check the server log, like the Tor node on the log, and it was this node is giving bad data, or whatever it was. I can't remember the exact message. So I got the node name, and then I put it in the tor-ctl under exclude nodes, restarted it, and everything started working again. So we have that here instead of just kind of having to log in and check logs. Right here, you can send and receive, just get a whole list of your exclude nodes, and then if something's misbehaving, you should be able to just should be able to just kind of right here add it to exclude nodes. or take it off exclude nodes. And same thing, exit exclude nodes. If the exit node is giving you a funny policy, something appears to be blocked, you should be able to check the name of the exit node somehow, and then put it in exclude exit nodes. Maybe warn somebody else, or if you have a list of bad nodes. There used to be this great Tor site called Inspector that was unfortunately on Freedom Hosting when that whole thing went down. And it was never really brought back up. But that would just kind of like run various analysis on nodes, and it would generate literally an exclude nodes line for tor-ctl that you could just like copy and paste in, which was kind of cool. There was that. Um, so I was gonna like this is like so the whole point is this: instead of having to go dig through the tor-rc file, instead of that you should be able to just pull up this configuration thing like just as much as you can just order kind of like a new IP address and just literally throw this in here. These exclude nodes on the fly, and then kind of be on your way. It's a good defense against the dark arts of people like screwing with Tor. The next one here is entry nodes and exit nodes. What I should do eventually include a documentation of kind of the syntax for these, because these can also include a node. It can include a node hash, a name, a hash. It can also include a country. So for an exit nodes, right, you can specifically put a list of exit nodes you will allow. You can pick out one specific exit node that I want this IP. I want to come out of here. This one's a good one. For the reason is instead of getting it random, instead of just new IP, we're getting it at random. You can kind of stake out which one you specifically want to put it here. You can also put a country. So if you're trying to get around like geofilters or geoblocks, you could specifically say this country. I want to be from this country because I want country-specific content. So you can kind of like evade censorship somehow, or evade geoblocks, or kind of these artificial gates that put in the internet here. Also, if you run your own exit node, like you're really advanced, you want to run your own exit node, and you just want to use Tor as like a personal VPN, you can just run an exit node, and it will basically pump data through your node, through specifically your exit node. You might have a specific geography you put your exit node in. You might have a specific IP address. You might have a custom like exit node that you kind of want all your traffic going through. The exit node might be specifically next to a service that you use. So there might be reasons like you might be on your own service and you want to specifically use your exit node, but you still want your traffic disguised through the Tor network so it looks like everyone else's, but you want it on a very specific exit node. There's a lot of reasons why you'd actually want this. Entry node, same thing. You can put entry. I want entry in my own country. I don't want to enter in somebody else's country. I want to enter on my own node. I want my node to specifically connect to another node I control. Yada yada yada. Maybe you want to chain them. Ops proxy. Bridges are probably better for this, but you want to do some custom routing with this, with entry and exit, of how you enter and exit Tor network. This is good for this. So this is why I have these four. These are like from tor-rc is basically their own tab. The interface in this interface is not exactly what I want. It's kind of a rough draft of kind of how I envisioned it. Very rough draft of kind of the controls I want. Misconfig, it's just like another bits of configuration that you might not necessarily want to, everything you want, but anything you want to change in the fly without having to log into the machine is probably going to go in here. In logs, it's just going to try to pull everything that might be causing like malfunctions, like I said with here, to allow you to like kind of react to problems, like kind of like on the fly. So let's see if we can do this. Like, what are we going to do with this? The problem is you can line them up, but the way you have to do it is you kind of have to like snap this to a grid, like this one. So let's break the layout here. So you can see here, this is like this little grid icon. So this grid icon is needed because that grid icon is when you go like this, is when you expand it, the text boxes and everything, expands with it. So you want to do that because it's like when you have things like a console here, it says text and a lot of output. You want to be able to scroll over here so you can read this. But since we broke this now, this is not gonna work. But this wasn't working because this wasn't really lining up properly. So let's actually delete this. This is actually pretty ugly. Go back to what I was originally doing. Let's see what we can do here. Let's actually try getting a geometry somewhere we want. We can kind of leave it where it is with like x and y values. What are we gonna do? Hmm. So another one. Let's actually go look through the config because the one thing I don't have is that from Vidalia is I probably need a list of nodes. Probably put these over here because you kind of wanted those buttons to be over here. But when you snap them to the grid, like Tor just kind of does whatever it fucking wants. It's a little annoying. Let's just see. Let's get it. What does it say? What does it say about nodes? I mean, what other stuff can I dredge out of the? Ooh, that's interesting. Hmm. Huh. So how do I get a list of nodes? This is gonna be interesting. Might actually have to wait to do that, to figure out the exact code, until I actually get enough of this wired up that the console will work, and I can just start hacking away by sending like raw API commands with console. I'm just probing my Tor node. But anyway, let's just see if we can get this to work, because like the weird size constraints is we have like this list exclude nodes. Hmm. Enter. Interesting. So it's push button here. Node Explorer. Let's set the. Let's see if we can do this. This might actually be an interesting concept. Height 45. Actually, it's just a little long. Looks a little better. These buttons are big enough for 2 rows instead of having one long. It kind of looks a little better like this. Send, receive. Let's put Node Explorer over here because it's kind of different group. Huh.